Okay, this is Artefactors magazine. I'm with one of my best friends I have ever met. That is for sure. His name is Peter Godwin. Besides that, he's a good songwriter, he's a good dancer, he's a good singer, he's an excellent friend, and he's an awesome man. Hello, Peter. How are you today?
I'm great, Renato, and I'm just wondering how I'm going to live up to that amazing build-up.
And actually, I have to add something else that you are. How can we say that you are the best man of Artefactors magazine? So, Peter, let's start this interview because you are right now in London, right? I'm in Mexico City. Tell me, just give me a little review, a brief review about your life in the 80s with Metro and everything. Explain us step by step as you want.
Okay. Well, it's obviously it's quite a long story, as you know, because I started with forming a band with Duncan Brown and Sean Lyons, and that was Metro. Yeah. We had a record out, our first album out all over the world, which was interesting because it actually was successful in quite a few surprising places, and still today people from Italy and Norway and places where it was a hit are still arriving in Facebook, for example, and mothers and even their daughters have been introduced to this album. It was my first album, and that album actually really set my career going. I mean, one thing was it was on Sire Records in America, that's Seymour Stein's label, and he had Talking Heads on there at the same time, later on Madonna, so we were in some quite interesting company, and Criminal World, as I say, it was actually a hit. The first single from that album, our very first single, was a hit in some places around Europe, like it went to number 2 in Italy actually, so quite a lot of Italian people know me from that time. Obviously, as some people know, that album was also bought by David Bowie, who decided to cover Criminal World on the Let's Dance album. And so that again brought, at the time, by then I was making solo records. And that brought my music and Metro, but also my solo stuff to more people's attention. It obviously helped. I'd actually done by then 3 albums altogether with Metro. There were 2 more after the one that had Criminal World on it. Then I decided that I'd gone far enough with that, and I wanted to, I suppose, be a bit more in control of exactly the music I was making, so that I could just please myself as you can as a solo artist. And so I started making records by myself in the 80s. Some of the songs that people know, depending on, I released in something like 57 countries, so my records went out in a lot of places, and different people liked different songs, and different tracks were successful, if you like, in different places. The ones that most people know, are like Images of Heaven, Babies in the Mountains, Emotional Disguise in quite a few places too. Those are the ones that most people probably know best.
Which was stolen recently, remember? Venezuela, remember?
Emotional Disguise, yes. Yeah, it was stolen a long time ago, I found out recently. Yes, that's an interesting little tale, isn't it? We can touch on that. Yes, Marita, what was her surname? She was a Venezuelan film star and became a pop star doing a version of Emotional Disguise, actually using my original instrumental and singing her own Spanish lyric over the top. Very strange. And I only found out about it last year, but it was a big hit for her back in the 80s.
Yeah.
These things happen, It's particularly when you have records out all over the place. I mean, I actually had records out in Mexico. You know, I only know that not because I went there, but I had royalties from there. I had records out, the Correspondence album, which has Babies in the Mountains and The Art of Love on it. That was released all over South America. I have friends who heard it in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. I know it was out in Colombia, Argentina. I have friends who dance tango that I've met the last few years because I happen to like dancing Argentine tango. And a lot of them know my music from, just from hearing it in Buenos Aires, hearing it in Argentina. So that's the thing, your music goes out there, anything can happen. You know, I even just a few days ago, I heard a version of a track I wrote for Ronnie, a French singer, To Have and Have Not. And apparently this band had recorded it, a German band had recorded it, again, back in the 80s, and I'd never heard it. So, you know, in a way that's the joy of music as well, you know, that it goes out there and people get to hear it in different ways. And sometimes another version that may lead you to, that may lead them, to your music, you know. So it's not a bad thing, although I don't think many people that were listening to the Venezuelan lady had listened to me, unfortunately. You know, I don't think they realized that it was also another artist and it was his song, let alone his music. But so basically that was the journey from Metro through doing solo albums and records in the 80s. I produced for people, I wrote songs for people, sometimes the two things together.
Can we know about those people, about the production for those people? Can we know the names?
Well, those people were, like I said, Ronnie was somebody that a lot of people like, although she didn't do many records, but I produced a couple of songs for her, which I co-produced with George Kianos, who also produced Images of Heaven and the Correspondence album, and Emotional Disguise. He was at the time in a band called Data, but his first band was a very successful pop band called Sailor that had hits with songs like Glass of Champagne, Girls, 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 which I think still get played, you know.
Yeah.
After that, he went on and he's still making music today. In fact, he's doing a musical at the moment about Sailor, not about a story based around that first music of his. But anyway, we produced some tracks for Ronnie together. Blue Cabaret and To Have and Have Not. To Have and Have Not was a song that I wrote specially for her. I did the same thing with a French, she's actually a Belgian girl that sang in French called Nathalie Gabay. And she was 15 when I first met her, and she wanted, she had a manager that I knew, and they wanted a song for her, so I wrote a song I wrote two versions, one English-French and one sort of French-English. And that was called in English, My Love Won't Let You Down, her first single. And again, I produced it with George, but I wrote the song. And that did very well, and it was played for many years, and it was a hit all over Europe, places like Italy as well. It was very successful. It's what they now call, some people call it Italo disco. I don't think we were thinking of it like that, but
no, it's not.
It was a kind of electro dance music, really, with a pop flavor, of course. We also did another song for her, which I wrote, called Heaven on Earth. Again, that did very well in Italy and in Belgium, where she lived. I'm still friends with her. She's in my Facebook friends. You'll find her there. I even did a production for the Drifters. Johnny Moore. Yeah. The Drifters, Under the Boardwalk, Save the Last Dance for Me, that lot. Yeah. Very unlikely, but they approached me, and I wrote a song for them, actually with the guitar player from Metro, the second lineup of Metro, Colin White. We wrote this song called Your Broken Heart.
Okay.
And I recorded it very quickly in Rusty Egan's Trident Studios at the time, but with a lot of 80s musicians. So Warren Cann from Ultravox played drums on it.
Yeah.
And I had Hans Zimmer, you know, who became obviously very famous, an Oscar-winning soundtrack, sort of emperor really of Hollywood as far as soundtracks are concerned, Hans Zimmer. But he played keyboards on Your Broken Heart for the Drifters, and it's actually a very nice record. But I don't know, it's just a piece of history, really, you know. And I went to see them sing it live alongside of their hits, and even they had me up on stage singing Save the Last Dance for Me with them. It was quite something, you know. They're an amazing band, really, with an extraordinary history. And Johnny Moore, who sang it, was one of the very original Drifters from the 1950s, you know. So the B-side of that, which I wrote after the first day we recorded Your Broken Heart, I went home and I wanted to write a slow song for what in those days would be the B-side of the vinyl. And I wrote Soul of Love, which actually I later put on Correspondence. So there's a version by me on the Correspondence album, but first of all I wrote it for them, and it's got, and we went in the next day and Hans Zimmer played piano, and we put it down like that. So I did a number of things. I also wrote and produced for Reggie Magloire. Now Reggie was a singer with In Deep. Last night, a DJ Saved My Life. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, classic
well,
song.
she was 17 when she sang. I met her at Danceteria in New York. I saw her perform it. Wow. And then I met her again by chance when I was doing a lot of TVs in Europe, because I had a lot of hits there. And she wanted a song, and we worked together for a while as well. She later worked with Technotronic. Move That Body was a hit with her singing. And she's even got a new album out. She's on EMI now. She has an album which is a combination of rap, soul and opera.
Oh, wow.